Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another great edition of my Grue Rume Show. And for the Grue Rume Show today, I got a very awesome guest, and she is a singer and a musician. She's the lead singer for a rock band called Clo Clozure, and I'm really looking forward to talking to her about the band, about the music, and about her amazing songs. And she has such an incredible voice too, and I'm really looking forward to talking to her all about that. They just came off of a tour with Fozzy, which is the band that Chris Jericho is the singer of, the professional wrestler, and we're going to talk to her about that as well. I am Rocco Cross. I am the host at Stutters. I am the host of the Grue Rume Show, and my interview with Elizabeth be coming up very soon. This is my Grue Rume, and as always, welcome to my nightmare. So stay tuned. All right. Welcome to Grue, and thank you so much for coming on. This is going to be great.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, no problem. So, I guess the first thing I want to ask you is basically like what drew you to want to make songs, and who were some of the artists and bands that inspired you?
To be honest, I am obsessed with Quentin Tarantino and System of a Down and Flyleaf, which they all tend to be artists that are obsessed with either portraying or talking about a subject of matter that needs to be
Mhm.
discussed and either portraying just like an art form. So when I decided to do music at like 21, I I had a lot to speak about being Albanian and coming from like a communist and like second world country to being the only girl in my family. I had a lot to say. So I felt like rock was the only industry where I could actually portray that. And I think people were willing to accept the honestly the rawness and the
Mhm.
intensity of my feelings. Pop
I
music
love it.
couldn't handle me. So here we are in rock years later.
Exactly, exactly. I love it. So, what kind of drink are you drinking right now?
Right now I'm having a Bessa cigar, which is actually owned by my cousins, Mark and Zach Nikollaj. It's an Albanian cigar. It's like a Dominican wrapped and like I believe a Nicaraguan blend, which I don't
Nice.
typically smoke with cigars because I am a singer and I am a very clean vocalist. And then I'm also having an espresso martini
Ooh,
because
okay.
why else would you do an interview unless you're having a fun time?
Right, exactly.
Thank
That's what
you,
I'm
right?
saying. Yes.
Absolutely.
You're the lead singer of this amazing rock band, Closure, and is this your first band, or were you in other bands before this?
So I know we met each other at like a freaking small parking garage in Jersey, I believe,
Philly.
Philly. And it was my first tour ever with Closure. I was in a band prior to this,
Hmm.
um, not nearly as serious or as professional. Um, this is my second or third, I would say my third band. So my first
Okay.
band, I just did a bunch of covers with my best friend,
Yeah,
and we would try to work for free drinks and a fun time.
there you go.
So I wouldn't necessarily, I wouldn't technically proclaim that as like a real band. But my first band ever was when I was like 22. And then we broke up about a year ago. And then when I found Closure, it was late September, early November of last year. And we've
Wow.
had about a year anniversary together. And it's been a lot. A lot of things have happened. I mean, you met me when I was on tour with Tantric, Sponge, and Powerman 5000. And then I just finished tour with Fozzy, Chris Jericho's band. So
Yes, yes.
it's been a fucking whirlwind. Am I allowed to cuss on this radio show?
Of course,
Okay,
yeah.
perfect. So it's been a fucking whirlwind, but a very fun one. And it's really rock and roll in the sense that we don't know what's coming towards us as it comes, but we take
Okay.
it with all acceptance.
That's the only way to do it.
Yeah, honestly.
And and your how did the band form, Closure, and how did you come up with the name as well?
So Closure existed since 2014. And my lead guitarist, Michael Cordell, founded the group. And the reason why he wanted the name Clozure was because he was going through like a really shitty divorce, and he felt like he needed closure from that situation. Then within the few years, he managed to get Michael McCann, which is our drummer now, and Matthew Russell, and they were able to perform as a band for a few years. But by 2023, September, October, November, that's when me and Zach joined. And we kind of kept the name because I feel like we were all going through things. I was going through a very odd transitionary period after losing my father. And honestly, it was very hard for me to accept the loss of my dad at like 25, 26.
Oh, wow.
So by being able to acknowledge the fact that he's no longer around, but being able to have like amazing group of bandmates backing me, by Zach going through everything that he's gone through with the Army and being able to have the backing that the band offers, we all decided like harmoniously to just say that Clozure needs to remain Clozure. But we honestly did, I want to say that we almost like remanaged the name where all of us kind of have a grounding towards it. So I got kicked out of my last band. They didn't feel like I was the same after my dad died, so they kicked me out of it.
Oh my God, that's rotten.
Yeah, it's rough, right? Zach left his last band because they didn't want to do tours. I mean, even Clozure, the entirety of like Matt and Mike, they almost broke apart because it was very hard to find artists that wanted to tour and wanted to take it seriously. And when we all found each other, like September and October of last year, it was kind of like the stars aligned, and we all agreed that we're psychotic enough to want to do this full time. And so Clozure now exists as the Clozure you see now.
It's the best version.
Thank you. Is it crazy? Yes. Is it honest and true? Yes.
Exactly.
Another espresso martini. Okay. We're gonna have a great interview.
I know, I love it. And I love your look on stage, like the whole rock vibe, and what influences like your stage look.
Honestly, I am like a really big fan of Maria from In This Moment. I love Madonna circa 90s, where she did like the comb bras and all the sex appeal. I feel like there's a certain empowerment that like women have when they like are able to acknowledge their curves and their body and like their sexuality and sensuality. So I'm not the smallest girl. I'm like a curvier build. And I think it's one of the best assets that I have. And so when I joined rock music, I didn't want to necessarily portray as like the typical twig skinny rock singer. I love the idea that I was very womanly and very curvaceous. And so I looked onto the singers of like In This Moment or Spirit Box or even Madonna and so on and so forth. And that's kind of where I got comfortability within my own self. But I will say that my band has done a lot to like make me feel more comfortable, and they've done a lot to support me in who I am. Because in this industry, in this day and age, you don't have to be anything specific. I know in the 90s, everyone had to be skinny. And in the early 2000s, everyone had to be like Paramore, like, punk rock or whatnot. But in 2024, with social media, with what you're able to communicate with like your audience members, whether it's like a live performance or just like TikTok or Instagram, you're able to have people fall in love with you the way you are. I mean, that's how I met you. I met you in like literally a freaking parking, lot, talking about music and like the love of horror. And
yes, exactly. Yes.
Because of that, that's why we're able to do this photo shoot and like this, like, video shoot and like this interview, is because of just like the opportunity that like we have now with the modern day and age of like webcams and cell phones and
I know, isn't
podcasts
it
and radios
crazy?
and whatnot.
It is. It is. It's absolutely nuts.
It's honestly amazing. Like, I swear to God, we've never had so much more control over
I know.
entertainment and media than right now.
I know. Yeah. It's great. You have all different social media forms, like you were saying, from Instagram to TikTok, Snapchat, YouTube, you name it, it's there.
It really is. And I think that's what's like awesome is because I remember when I was like 5 or 6, I would watch and wait for paparazzi to like have photos of Lindsay Lohan and Britney Spears because that was the way you were able to like connect with your artists.
I
But
know.
now the artists don't need a second or third platform. They don't need a record label or even like a paparazzi to take their photo. They can just go on their Instagram and just say hi to their fans.
Oh yeah.
They're able to like either do live interviews. I know. They're able to do live interviews, whether it comes to podcasts or radio stations, and it's all within our own fingertips. And it's
You're
an
right.
amazing fucking experience because going to college, I went to college for business and communications.
Oh
And
wow. Okay.
I learned the very strict dialogue of like business meets and talks and whatnot. And none of that matters anymore. It just honestly matters of like how good of a person you are, how true of a person you are as a business person, and how you're able to connect with your audience.
Definitely. Definitely.
Like, personality runs miles now versus advertisement. I mean, I feel like nowadays people are able to realize what's fake and what's real.
Yep. Yep.
You know what I mean? We were talking about like horror, like movies and like, podcasts and industries. And like, we don't need to rely on Quentin Tarantino to give us the creepy films anymore because you have so many B, C, D, E list directors that if
Right.
you genuinely were interested, I guarantee you your hometown almost offers a small film festival where you can see the next and up and coming artist. And
Exactly.
it's an
Exactly.
amazing, we're in an amazing industry right now where we're able to really have full control over who's gonna be the next big thing.
You're right.
I mean, that's
You're
why I
right.
was beyond excited and like honestly like amped up to do an interview with you. It's because like you don't know what's gonna come out of anything anymore. Like
No,
you can
true.
have
You're
the
right.
next best interview and like nobody knows what's gonna happen until it actually happens.
Yep.
It's all organic and honest as can be right now.
Definitely. Yes.
Mind you, I am 4 espresso martinis in.
You must really love them, huh?
Mm. I swear to God, every day I live towards the idea of being able to just be myself and do what I love.
Exactly. That's
And
that's the best way to do it.
yeah, and you, the band, anybody that comes to the shows is the reason why I'm able to like do what I love.
Exactly. Exactly. And I actually, I'm all about that too. Like, just be yourself. Like, you don't have to hide or be fake or anything like that. Just go out there and be yourself. If they don't like it, screw them. If they like it, great. And that's what I did. Like, when I created the show, like, I got is a speech issue, stuttering, and I was like, you know what, I at first I didn't want to do it, and I'm like, oh, they're gonna laugh at me, they're gonna think I'm like slow or something because I can't say my words right because of the stuttering. And then I was like, screw it. If they don't like it, they just don't watch.
Well, like, I don't know, but like I have ADHD. And
Hmm.
so my songwriting process is so hot and cold and so sporadic. But I feel like the day and age that we're in right now, where we're able to understand stuttering, ADHD, certain levels of autism, um, the only way to truly understand it is just to talk about it. And
Exactly.
nowadays, you don't have to be quote unquote normal or part of the normies in order to have your own like broadcast or your own channel. And, as a lyricist, the reason why I write my music is because of all the hardships that I've ever gone through. Like, you
Okay.
know, The Devil Effect and Nevermore was honestly, and I hate to say this because I love Clozure with all my heart,
Yeah.
but I wrote those songs because of the breakup that I had with my band previous.
Oh,
And
okay. Okay.
I'm not very good at talking emotional about my feelings unless it's in song form, because I don't want to focus on something too long. So I can
Exactly. Yeah.
focus enough to write a 3 minute and 30-second song, but I don't want to talk about it for an hour or two at a time in a therapy session. So the cool
Yeah,
thing
that's a
with
good point.
yes, so the cool thing with the day and age that we have now is it's like, if you're willing to let down your borders and you're willing to let down your walls, um, you're able to publicize and or talk about the difficulties that I think everyone deals with,
Hmm.
whether it's stuttering, whether it's ADHD that I have, whether it's depression or so on and so forth.
Yeah.
This day and age now with social media and broadcasting, you're really able to create a new normal that's achievable.
You're
And
right.
I feel like back in the day, that wasn't able.
Oh,
And
no.
now we have so much power and control. So that's why I get so beyond excited to do any kind of interview, because I am so far from perfect, but I'm so more than willing to either accept help or be helped towards anyone that's going through what I've went through, because we've lost communication over the years. I
I
mean,
know.
pre-COVID, we've honestly lost being able to communicate and talk to each other. And like, mankind is such like an intelligent and like tight-knit community that like if we stop talking to each other, we go cold.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that's why I fell in love with like interviews and songwriting in my band, because I feel like it has got me through so much.
Okay. And you have like such a great voice. Like I love your songs, and when I saw you live, it was amazing too. And did you get voice lessons, or was it just something that just came?
Oh my God, sweetheart, I got kicked out of middle school choir. Fun fact. I was told when I was 13 years old that I didn't have strong enough vocals to do
Oh
solo
my, what?
music. Yeah. Yeah. I am the epitome of a rock and roll artist, where I had a very, am I allowed to cuss on this? And am I allowed to
Yes,
cuss?
of course. Yes.
Okay. I have the epitome of a fuck you personality. um, I got kicked out of choir. I joined show choir 7th grade year. I went to Greenwood Lakes Middle School, and I
Hmm.
wanted to join show choir because show choir was the accompaniment of not only music, but also theater. And I loved the idea of being able to do everything all at once.
Yeah.
I got kicked out because I wasn't a strong enough singer, and I wasn't able to take, I guess, constructive criticism enough.
Hmm.
And I stopped singing between 13 through 20.
Oh wow.
Yes. And then I didn't join music again until I was like 2021. My best friend Audiel and I joined like a cover group. We named it 10 Mile Lights. We did that for a few years, and then that broke up because, bills are a very real thing.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
um, you know, society will beat you up. And then I had a band called The Dev that I was with for a couple years, 4 years to be exact. And we were together up until my dad died. And about a year after my father passed, we split because I think my ideologies didn't meet their ideologies. And
Hmm.
it wasn't a very good breakup. And that's where Clozure genuinely gave me closure. And that's where they were like, hey, we really love the emotion and the passion that you're like willing to bring. And would you think about joining our band? I'm from Florida. My band's predominantly based in Alabama. So it was a very
Oh.
nerve-wracking concept because I've never been signed to a label. I've never been signed to like any kind of management industry. I was like a
Hmm.
typical day-to-day rock and roll singer that would, you know, do the local fucking shows and not give a fuck and smoke a blunt and jump on stage and like
Yes.
I really didn't give a fuck. But when I joined Clozure, they had some form of I guess they had some form of like they were organized to some degree and they liked the sound that I offered and the emotion that I offered. And when I joined Michael and Matt and Michael, we clicked. We later on added on our bassist Zach Taylor in November or December of last year, and then that was it. I mean, I must have only known my band for about 2 or 3 months before I even performed or recorded our song "The Devil Effect," and
Oh my
like
God.
late November. It was very fast paced, but it was genuinely like organic and true to like its nature.
Wow, that's awesome. And
Yeah.
I like you were talking about like the other song you did too. I really love Nevermore. Like it's such like a great powerful song and the lyrics. And what does that song mean to you?
Honestly, completely unprocessed or filtered. I wrote that song because my father passed in April 29th of 2022. And being Albanian and being firstborn American, I was, oh my God, I'm gonna get teary eyed. It's not that espresso martinis, it's just because I love my father so much.
Yeah.
I love my dad so much that when I lost my father, it was like I was going through a midlife crisis and a divorce all at once. And I was 25 years old. And I did a couple tours with my old band. I did a couple singles with my old band, and I couldn't find a grounding of happiness and understanding with them. And life does a very interesting thing where it'll show you something that's very hard and cruel, but it's the process that you need to go through as an artist or as just a human being in general to be able to process what you've gone through. And so when I wrote Nevermore, it wasn't about a breakup of a boyfriend, but it was more so like the breakup of just like the past of what I knew and having to be able to accept everything that I'm going through as a fucking human being. You know, I was scared. I had a whole new career. I had a whole new lifestyle. I had a whole new band. And I don't know if a lot of people go through the change of a career, a home, a family, a band, a relationship that I went through. And so when I wrote Nevermore, I wanted to come from an aspect of just like rawness and realness, that it's okay that things may not be what they are, but like you'll find a new normalcy after it. And between Zach and Michael and Matt, I was able to write lyrics that ironically gave me closure
Definitely.
from my band breakup, from my father's passing, from changing careers, from changing homes, from changing relationships. So, I mean, that song is extremely heavy towards me. And it is by far one of the most favorite songs that I've ever written, because I don't know if everyone's ever gifted the amount of support and love that I've received. And my band has given me that. And it's a phenomenal song. In the video portrayals, you'll see that I'm singing by myself, or I'm singing to mannequins, or I'm singing to my bandmates, because I feel like every day everyone goes through something where they feel like misunderstood or unheard of. And I wanted to portray that. But at the end of the day, it's how you feel. It's what you want to do with your life. And it's how you want to push forward. And I wanted Nevermore to be that song, because it really was for me.
Wow.
It gave me a lot of closure, quote unquote.
Right, yes.
It's so fucking ironic that my band is named Clozure.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
I literally went through my father's death. a band breakup and a relationship breakup all within the first like 6 months. So when I joined the band Clozure, it really gave me closure. But I really wanted the song to portray anything that anyone's going through, because I've noticed you can do too much of Xanax, or you can smoke too much weed, or you can drink too much alcohol. But when like man to man has a conversation, or when you're able to look at yourself in the mirror, it really does give you like a settling factor. Exactly. And so I really wanted Nevermore to really be that song where it's okay if you feel like shit. Everyone feels like shit. It's okay if you are angsty or you hate whoever you hate. That's fine. Like, as long as you're able to move forward and allow it to be nevermore, then you're doing well enough. And that's what I wanted that song to be.
Okay. Yeah, because like I said, like when I listened to the lyrics for the song, like it just it's very powerful, and I mean like even when the times get tough and I wasn't enough, like just that like lyric right there, that can mean so much on so many different levels to people, like on their personal lives.
I remember oh, I get teary-eyed whenever I think about this. Oh my God. I remember one of my good friends from high school. Mm-hmm. Her child died from fibs. Oh. I've never talked about this up until this interview. It could be the espresso martinis kicking in. But I remember she told me directly that like she felt like she couldn't be enough. And that maybe if she was awake for that moment, she was able to save her child's life. And I remember I talked to my father April 18th, I'm sorry. April 18th at like around, actually, I lied. It was April 19th around 3 a.m. And I found my father dead at like 6:20 a.m. Oh, and sometimes we're so hard on ourselves where we want to blame ourselves for a really shitty circumstance. And it's not that you weren't enough, but you feel like you may not have been. So when I wrote that song, I really wanted to portray this idea or this certain kind of like humanity that like things happen and it's okay because you're unable to control everything around you. But you have to understand and acknowledge that you've given it your all and that like things happen, past your certain control. And it's okay to move forward and accept it for what it was. Okay. So when I wrote that for not only my father, but my friend who lost her child, because no one really necessarily talks about the hardness that everyone goes through. Whether you've gone through stuttering yourself and people were fucking shallow to not acknowledge you for like all the accomplishments that you've done, whether it was me as a daughter that feels like they should have been able to save their dad, or as a mother that couldn't have saved their child. The world can be a cruel place, but what makes it honestly amazing is the open communication. The same reason that I have the opportunity to do an interview with you, and the same reason that I have the opportunity to do a song. And so I wanted Nevermore to necessarily be like the anthem for if anyone's gone through anything tough. It's okay, as long as you've learned through it and you've taken some kind of acknowledgement and you're able to push past whatever you've gone through, then you're doing great. And that's why I really wanted the ending to be cinematic and large. And that's why I wanted to do everything one octave higher and really challenge myself as a singer, because I am not a soprano. I am a soprano to alto. I wanted to challenge myself because I really felt like Nevermore was the opportunity where I was like, I can no longer give myself excuses. It is what it is. Move forward, learn from it, and proceed with life.
Exactly. And then like your other song is more of like bang your head against the wall, get out your anger, get out your depression, that and
The
it's a
Devil Effect.
revenge song. Yes, the devil effect. Like this song is definitely like a bang your head against the wall song. And and did was the song like originally set to be like this like rage song, this revenge song?
No, so, so I met my band. Oh my God. I met my band September of last year. Um, we're a new band. We're a baby band.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the Devil Effect actually has the words of my old band within it. I won't say it because I don't necessarily want to out them. And they
Yeah.
have a new singer and they're doing well, and I wish the best for them. But in the title of the Devil Effect is my band's name in it. And I I needed some closure, you know, ironically speaking. And I wanted a little bit of a comeback song.
Mm-hmm.
There would be a fire department driving by. Yeah, no, it's that much of a big deal. I needed some closure and I needed some I had some angst to talk about. So when
Okay.
ironically speaking, you're talking to me as Nikollaj, lead singer of Clozure,
Yes.
but I got kicked out of my band prior to Clozure. And I don't think I was nearly as appreciated or as loved as the product that I'm in right now. When I got kicked out of my band, I had a lot of angst, and Michael and Matt specifically, which were the
Mhm.
two people that I met in early September, they realized that I had a lot to fucking say. And so they allotted me this musical accompaniment, which ended up being the Devil Effect. And so I wanted to portray the fuck you, I'm doing better. You can walk the line to your fucking death because I'm doing better. There's a couple phrases where like my army is my family, my home. The reason why I put that lyric in there was because in my old band, they would always constantly call themselves a business, but not necessarily like a friendship or a band. Um, they took music more professionally, but less empathetically and spiritually.
Okay.
Versus Clozure, if I'm going through a breakup or if I'm going through like any kind of hardship, I'll annoy my bassist or my drummer or my guitarist like no ends meet. So we are family. And so
Exactly.
my old band didn't support me after my father's pass, and they didn't support me after my breakups and whatnot. So when I joined Clozure, they supported the like emotional hardships that I went through, and they kind of gave me the song. And it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't even called the Devil Effect at the time. It was called the Lucifer Effect.
Oh,
And
okay.
that was based on a psychological study where they would have a few people pretend to be inmates and a few people pretend to be prisoners. And
Mm-hmm.
eventually the inmates wanted to like reject and reform against their I guess police people or whatever.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I felt like that was low-key kind of me because I used to be in a band and I wanted to reform and I wanted to remake my own identity. But I
Exactly.
didn't like the idea of Lucifer Effect. I like the idea of the Devil Effect because I was in a
That
band called The
that
Dev.
sounds better. Yeah, that does sound better.
And ironically, my old band was called The Dev. So I was able to create a psychological study and the breakup of my old band and kind of put it into a song and rename it and reform it to exactly what I went through. And I would have not been able to do that without Michael Portal and Matthew Russell specifically because they wrote that song. So
Mm-hmm.
it was an interesting process. I literally only knew them for 2 days. And within 2 days, before I ever met my drummer or my bassist, that song was written.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And it was a process. It was interesting
Oh yeah,
because
I'm sure it was.
I literally flew to Alabama to meet strangers because I'm in Florida right now. I live in
Yeah.
Orlando. And I literally met a bunch of strangers to be able to do what I love. And they're amazing guys. They're all veterans. They're all very hardworking men. And they were able, they were, they were allowing for me to have my voice. And
Exactly.
they supported me enough to portray the image of the band and everything that we've done and everything that you've met
Yeah.
when we were
Yeah.
performing together.
Yes.
So I'm so in love with them. It's not even fucking funny. I went from being a very petty ass bitch and being very hateful to, I think now they're very confused on how to deal with me because I'm writing songs like Nevermore and Relapse and The Devil Effect. But I'm so beyond happy because of the band that backs me.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So,
and I have to say your cover song of bring me to life. Oh my god, like it so good. Like your voice definitely matches that. Like I'll put that right up there with Amy Lee. And what made was this like a song that you love? Like what made you choose this?
so when you met us, we were on tour with Power Man 5000 and Sponge and Tantric. And that was the first tour that we actually ever did as a band. So you met us in our raw and very organic phase of what the fuck is Clozure now? Because Clozure was actually predominantly male fronted and they were very Southern rock. And so ironically, everyone loved to compare me to Amy Lee, which is beyond an honor because Amy Lee is like by far one of the most popular and well-known female artists that we have in the rock industry. So to be even slightly compared to her was like, thank fucking God, right? I mean, honestly, like I'm not gonna lie to you, like as a vocalist, as a songwriter, as a performer in general, she's done a substantial amount in the rock and roll industry. I mean, her songwriting to her performance to just her imagery in general. Amy Lee is well known. Yeah. So we were constantly compared to her, and I'm very good friends with Joshua Roberts. He's the front man and the lead singer for Magnolia Park, and they're ironically based in Orlando. So like one conversation led to another, and I was like, what if we did a cover of Bring Me to Life? Because everyone loves to say that because I have dark hair and I'm pale skinned and like I have some similarities to her. How funny would it be if we just did a cover and see how everyone reacts to it? And he was like, you know what? Let's screw it. Let's just do it. Let's just have fun.
Yeah, just do it.
So my guitarists, Matt and Mike and Zach, they did exactly what the cover did. My lead guitarist, Cordell, decided to throw in some like lead solos and some different accompaniment to it. And then my best friend, Josh, the lead singer of Magnolia Park, decided to do the male vocals. And it just, one thing led to another. And there you go. I mean, I'd like to say it was like seriously like contemplated.
Yeah.
But honestly, it was more organic and more like, fuck it, let's see what happens. And I'm extremely happy with how it ended. Actually, the lyric video that you can view on YouTube, me and Josh recorded that within 3 hours.
Wow.
I shot Josh's part. He shot my parts. And it was literally 2 people in one room. And we shot everything together. And it's very cool because you get to really see all of our artistmanship between videography to album cover art to even just like performance and like songwriting and like singing. And it's actually a really cool process.
Wow. Okay. And now you have a new song out, Criminal Mind. And what inspired like the song and the lyrics?
Woo! So I wrote the song originally when I was 19.
Oh,
And I
okay.
wanted to join my first rock band, but my parents were like, screw you, you're going to college first.
Ah, yeah.
Later on, when I joined Clozure, we needed a song to record. I showed them Forth this song, and they're like, hold on, we can actually rewrite this, where it's not a crappy singer writing a shitty guitar chord. Because I am by no means a musician in the aspect of instruments. Like, let me fucking tell you, my two guitarists, Mike and Matt, my drummer Mike, and my bassist Zach are by far better instrumentalists than I ever will be. So I showed them this song that I wrote when I was like 20, 21 years old. They were like, great, this is decent. Can we make this somewhat better? And I'm like, by all means, do whatever you want. I don't freaking care. And so instrumentally, they rewrote it. Malcolm Springer asked me to change some things harmonically. And Criminal Mind is what you can hear now with better revisionment and better instrumentalists, in all honesty. But the song overall is just about loving rock and roll and loving the tour life and loving the sporadicness and just the fun day-to-day, moment-by-moment lifestyle that you have being an artist or a spokesperson of any sort. And fun fact, we were not going to release Criminal Mind. We were actually going to release a song called Walk in the Park.
Oh, all right.
I'm not sure if I'm allowed to entail, but espresso martinis have kicked in. We were supposed to release a song called Walk in the Park, but after signing with Wake Up Music Rocks, they wanted a more generically accepted song where people were able to understand us generally. And we actually shot the whole entire music video with a self point and shoot camera on tour when we were on tour with Chris Jericho and his band Fozzy. And so everything that you see is genuinely rawness. So
oh my God, it's so cool.
It really is. And so you met us in a parking lot when we were about to go into our bus. Right after we did the show, I think was it Jersey? Were we
No, Philly.
Philly. You met us in a parking lot talking about Philly, and like lo and behold, 2 months later, we were trying to figure out how the fuck we were going to record Criminal Minds music video, because we were going to release a ballad about the loss of my father and just the loss of anything that you love genuinely. But our label was like, hey, we really love the song, but we would love to portray you as a hard rock band before we show off a ballad from you. Just because in the general and in the public, we would rather portray you as what you typically tend to be. So then when you release your ballad, it hits harder because they know that's not what you typically write. Pepper Gomez of Wake Up Rocks Music, phenomenal idea. We didn't think that through when we portrayed her, the song. And so we literally shot Criminal Mind on tour with Chris Jericho and his band Fozzy last minute. So everything that you see in the music video is shot by my best friend Kat on a point and shoot camera. And it's from performance to performance. And it really kind of portrays like the fun tour life. A rock band goes through. And in all honesty, Criminal Mind was written because, like, let's be honest, I didn't get my bachelor's degree because I I chose to join a rock band. So it really was the epitome of like, fuck it. I want to be a rock singer. And I think the music video kind of shows that. And I'm actually really happy with how it ended. Even though it wasn't, we literally shot that music video in 3 different performances and edited it within a week.
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn, that okay, all right.
It was very sporadic. To say the absolute least, it was so unplanned and sporadic. But at least, you know, we're in a no bullshit kind of band. And we just do what we do, I guess.
That's awesome. That really is. And you just came off the tour with Fozzy, Jericho, and how was it like actually being on tour with an icon like Chris Jericho?
Chris Jericho is the epitome of a performer. Um,
Hmm.
Within the 3 weeks that we performed with him, I think he flew out to different states at least 2 or 3 times, either promoting anything for AEW wrestling or performing for freaking Terrifier 3
Yeah.
as like a vocalist and as like an onstage personality. Um, there was a lot of times that I would text Chris. I would text Chris and I would ask him like, "Hey, what did you think of my show? Do you think I need to
Okay.
do more or do you think I need to do less?" Because in all honesty, this man's performed in front of thousands and thousands of people,
Yeah.
performing for WWE, performing for WCW, performing for AEW. I mean, like the different amount of
The list
platforms that
goes
he's
on.
been on. Yes, I mean, he's in a cover band where he does a lot of Kiss
Oh
originals.
yeah, that's right, the Kiss band. Yeah.
Yes, and he does his Fozzy band. He did WCW. He did WWF. He did AEW. I mean, this guy is like known for being
Oh, I know.
such a performer. And I'm from Orlando. He's from Tampa. So there was a lot of times that I would text him and be like, "Hey, what did you think?" And Chris Jericho in himself is an extremely humble and a very good fucking hard worker and a very presentable person. Um, Richie, PJ, I mean, everybody in that group of Fozzy is so
Hmm.
beyond humble and hardworking. Um, it was an absolute dream to tour with them. And I don't want to say one tour was better than the other, because Spider from Power Man and Vinny from freaking Sponge were like amazing. Like I feel like I became friends with Vinny. Like I have his number. I text him from time to time.
Nice, nice.
But it's crazy to think how amazing these people are day to day and like just in general. And Chris Jericho really kind of set the bar in the level of showmanship and like being able to be a performer. I remember there was a show, I believe, in Philadelphia where he flew out to do a show with AEW and then flew back in just to do his
Yeah.
VIP and his show. And you have to give a round of applause to some degree on how the fuck that man is able to do what he does. I mean, you could be 18 and be tired. You could be 60 and be tired. It doesn't matter. That creates that. In order to do that, you have to have some kind of like workmanship to back
Yeah,
that up.
yep.
And Fozzy, by far, they were like one of the better bands that we've ever toured with. And they were one of the most supportive bands. I mean, their merch guy was amazing. I love
Mhm.
Damon. I love Trent, their sound guy. Like that whole entire group was amazing.
Oh,
And
that's awesome.
I think my band almost learned some cues just performing with them because
Yeah,
they're hard workers and they're really good musicians and performers. And they were able to share and spread light upon what to do next, what to do in the future.
oh man, yeah, I'm a huge wrestling fan, so like
Me
oh yeah,
too.
yeah,
Oh my
really?
God. My first crush was The Undertaker. So I don't know if that's a red flag or a green flag, but I thought Undertaker was like the coolest freaking dude ever. And at like freaking 8 or 9 years old, I'm like, oh my God, he's like 7 feet tall. He's so hot. He's so mean and scary looking. It could technically be considered a red flag, but I was obsessed with The Undertaker. And I was obsessed with Goldust and
Goldust
Kane and The
too?
Rock. And I named my snake. He was an albino python. I named my albino python after Goldust. So
Oh
trust
my God,
me,
I love it.
going on tour with Chris Jericho,
Yeah,
oh, I
yeah.
was having a fangirl fucking moment. A fangirl moment.
I love it. I love it. So, was there any funny or really cool story, like tourist story that you have with you and Jericho?
Um, I can say the most heartfelt moment that I
Okay.
had. I have one nephew alone. And actually, me and my nephew have less of an age gap than me and my own brother do.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, so I'm 27, my brother is 43 and 44, and then my nephew is 13. So I'm closer to my nephew in age than I am to my brothers. And that's probably why I know so much about the wrestling industry and like the comic industry, is because I never had an option over what we were going to watch on TV. They controlled the remote. And being Albanian and wrestling being a very like important thing in our culture, whether it was showman wrestling or even like Greco style
Oh,
and
okay.
like
Yeah.
on the mat style,
Yeah.
it's an important thing to us. And my nephew actually wrestles. And so when my nephew
Uh-oh. Okay, everybody. My guess her phone died, but we are gonna do a part two to the interview probably in another a day or two. So this is gonna be a two-part interview. So if you had fun listening and watching this, then definitely stay tuned for the second one because I'm gonna talk to her about horror films. Thank you so much and have a good day.